So I'm sitting in a Popeyes parking lot waiting to get something to eat, and I felt that the refilming of this video that I promised you in my last video talking about Antonio Brown, which I'll link below, is right on time. I was ready. I was on a strict schedule. I was going to get this video posted yesterday, and it just kind of dawned on me with the recent events of Doug Marrone and what the video was talking about yesterday with Tom Coughlin's firing, that discipline and time and structure don't always equate to the success that you're looking to achieve, if that made any sense. I'm gonna get into it. So I was reading an article last week after Tom Coughlin was released from his position that he had established this type of environment in the Jacksonville Jaguars organization that essentially put a lot of fear in the players. It was supposed to be a discipline structure. I'm assuming if they had any success that he would attribute that to the discipline that he brought to this team. And it was all about how he would set the clocks 5 minutes ahead of time to reiterate to the players that if you are early, you're on time, and if you're on time, you're late. He implemented strict fines, and if anything, I guess he wanted the players to have a level of respect for the organization and their job that emphasized that if you are putting this job as your priority, then we're going to reach the success that you want to achieve. Okay, that's what everybody tells us all of our lives. Discipline is going to equate to success, and we've had the best indicators of that all throughout our lives, especially in the sports realm. Think Nick Saban, think Bill Belichick, think Kobe Bryant. All of those guys, in a sense, is kind of where I think that Coughlin kind of based his structure. I mean, I know he's light years ahead of these guys in maturity and age, in a sense, but they were extremists. They made sure that they put the fear of discipline into their heads, into the people that they worked with heads. And how can you blame them? I mean, their structure has brought them championships and titles and put them in the history books. But if we look at recent events and recent occurrences, we can all argue that Alabama's 12-2 season, and the Patriots, I don't know, they've lost 3 games this season, can kind of be regarded as some of the worst seasons that they've had in recent years. And Kobe Bryant, he began regressing a few years before his farewell tour. And all of this has essentially taught me that discipline isn't enough. Mainly because your purpose at some point doesn't become as purposeful. And even sometimes your discipline structure isn't going to bring you as much success as time and chance sometimes. You never know, because there are a myriad of factors outside of you that you can't control, even with all of the work that you put in. Now, Coughlin had 2 jobs in my mind. One, to prepare his team for victory, to make sure that they had all the tools in play to get where they needed to be, and to rile up the team and rile up the fans to want to be a part of this organization in whatever way possible. Essentially make people like their jobs and make people like this team. And here's where I feel like he backtracked. With this Saban example and the Belichick example that I just gave you, he instilled way too much discipline and not enough morale. Again, let's go back to Saban for a quick second. Saban, some of the most disciplined players. I don't know if you guys saw the ESPN special on them. It was like their Hard Knocks or the Rolling with the Tide special a couple of years ago. But he made these guys, it's an over and over thing. It's a practice thing. It's an effort thing. He had all of the talent in the world. And this year, he just seemed to kind of come up short. Injuries happen, exhaustion, teams that were just better than them who had a high morale. Let's look at LSU. They are having fun out there, man. Tom Coughlin is in a tough division with the Jags. Every division in the NFL is tough, but for the most part, he had all the talent around him. He had all of the structure, all of the discipline, and it's not just on him, it's on Doug Marrone as well and the entire coaching staff, but they still couldn't get it done. And on top of that, the players didn't like where they were. The NFLPA had to issue a letter to players looking to potentially sign with the Jags to warn them of everything that was going on in that locker room. Why? Because player morale wasn't there, and players were getting ticked that all the hard work they were putting in was not being displayed through wins on the field, but also that they were getting fined for things. For goodness sakes, Leonard Fournette and somebody else got fined, $100,000 for excessive celebration on the bench. Leonard Fournette wasn't even active during that game. So it's like we're celebrating something that we're doing well, and that's still a fine because we're not getting the result. I mean, come on. So I say this to say, what's going to happen is going to happen in a sense. You can prepare as much as you want, but discipline isn't enough. Morale is probably going to take you a lot farther in these circumstances and year round than a lot of these things. If you can get a person, take your job for instance, you can have all the tools around you. Your job provides you all of the resources, but nobody can stand a person who micromanages them, who doesn't give them an opportunity for work-life balance, and who doesn't make them excited to go to work every day. You dread doing it, so you're less creative. You can't brainstorm. You can't work with your team as effective. It's the same thing on an NFL field. If you have no morale in doing what you're doing, knowing all the pieces are there for you, how much are you really going to get accomplished? All right. So old school systems don't tend to work. Let's kind of follow the LA Rams model when they went to the Super Bowl, not this year. And that's another perfect example. They need maybe a little bit more discipline, maybe a little less morale. I don't know. I didn't really watch them this year. Let me not get into that. But have fun while you're doing it, because a person who's more excited is more willing to take on certain challenges. They're going to be more strict with themselves. They understand their goal, but they understand that the journey is just important as the goal. And back to Tom Coughlin's second job in boosting this morale, getting people excited. Sportscasters and fans eat that crap up. We don't care who you are or what you're doing. If we can get excited about what you're doing, if we can see that you're having fun, we're more inclined to partner with you in a sense, and that boosts player morale. I look at it like this, even in the tough seasons. Think about like the Dallas Cowboys. Think about LeBron James. Think about every NFL team this year who has had quarterback struggles, right? Let's use the Dallas Cowboys as an example. They have had essentially quarterback struggles with Dak Prescott and coaching struggles all year, but somehow we still seem to talk about them. Somehow their fans are still behind them for reasons unbeknownst to me. And the team is so excited. They are literally lighting fires under their butt every week to make sure that their coach is still with them, to make sure that the team is still with them, to make sure that they understand that they have a shot, right? They're doing a great job of that, and they're in the news every week. Jacksonville is in Florida. There's not much you can mess up with in Florida, right? We're not talking about them. We're not excited about them. We're not excited to buy their gear. They got some of the flyest colors in the NFL. They're in Florida. And every other team has had quarterback struggles, and we seem to be talking about every other team other than them. Guys, something has to give. So on different fronts, it just seems like he can't match the energy and the vision of what this team is supposed to be. And that's why I emphasize to stop showing up on time, because you're putting emphasis on the wrong thing. Okay? Sorry for that break. I had to order some food there. But it's essentially stop showing up on time. Stop putting all the effort into the details that don't matter. If anything, it's going to be a mixture. Experience will tell you that sometimes it's time and luck. A lot of times it is discipline. But most of all, the thing that's going to carry you forward is morale. Nobody wants to be beat down all the time. Okay, so take this going into your new year. When you're putting together all of your New Year's resolutions and all the goals that you're setting and all the plans that you're putting in play, I'm not going to tell you to do this, don't forget why you started plan or whatever it is, but remember, this is why everyone tells you to obsess over the journey. Have fun with the highs and the lows. Understand that discipline has its place, but that the more fun you have doing it, the more you're likely to stick to it. The more kind of scuffs and buffs that you have in it, or the more mishaps that you have in it, the more fun and the more memorable the experience, the more you remember why you do it. Stop focusing on things that don't really matter in the long run, if that makes sense. And lastly, if you don't remember anything, remember this, with especially the time and chance happened to them all. Tom Coughlin was early, and he got fired early too. I'm Dominique, I'm way off, and I'm way out.